Good morning, class. Welcome to week 3 of your distance learning. We are going to continue on with chapter 7. We finished up chapter 7.3, which was the Pythagorean theorem and the distance formula. And we started 7.4, where you had to classify real numbers and determine whether a number is irrational or rational and be able to classify beyond that. So today we're on example 2 of 7.4. So we are still on 7.4, and we are going to be approximating a square root. And what that means is we're going to be trying to determine the answers to square roots that are not perfect squares. So you would be able to do this skill without a calculator. Now, I'm not saying you can't use your calculators, but I want you to be able to know the process of how you can determine what an answer is to a square root problem that's not a perfect square. So that's why it's called approximating. We're estimating. We're not going to get the whole entire answer, because if you were to put in the square root of a number that is not a perfect square, it would be an irrational number. The number is never ending and not repeating. So when you're approximating the square root, you're just kind of rounding it. And for the purpose of our lesson today, we're going to just be rounding it to the nearest integer or the nearest whole number. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start. It's just a couple steps. It's actually not as hard as it sounds. And then for today's assignment, I have a digital, it's a digital assignment that you all have a copy of, where you just type right into the Google Slides. But it has a little bit more the notes that you can use from what you've learned in this video to put into that slide presentation. I believe it's 7 slides. And then there's a couple practice problems at the end. And I'm going to show you what that looks like and show you how I would like you to do it and then submit it. So if you do have any questions beyond that, please reach out to me and send me an email or a private comment on Google Classroom. Okay, so this part here, we're going to estimate the square root of 71 to the nearest integer. Again, integer is just a whole number, okay? So the first step 1 is to make a list of numbers whose squares are close to 71. Okay, so you could even look back at your square roots and cube roots sheet, where you can see your list of perfect squares, or you can just kind of start at a number. Let's say 7 squared. 7 squared is 49. The next one is 8 squared. Okay, so 8 squared is 64. I'm getting closer to 71. And then I'm at 9 squared. And 9 squared equals 81. Okay, so now I'm over 81. So step 2, between what two integers squared is 71? Well, if I'm looking at this list I made right here, 71 falls in between 64 and 81, correct? So the next question you have to ask yourself is 71 closer to 64, or is it closer to 81? Okay, well, 71 is 7 away from 64. I just took 71 minus 64, and I get 7. It's 7 away. And then 71 is 10 away from 81. So with that being said, the square root of 71 is approximately 8. Now, I have a squiggly equal sign. A squiggly equal sign means approximately or estimated. Okay, so you're estimating it as 8. If you were to put the square root of 71 in your calculator, you would get 8.4 something. You can go ahead and try that. I don't have my calculator right by me, but it would be around 8.4-ish, which is closer to 8 than 9. Okay, so that's it on approximating the square roots. You're given the square root of a number. You make a list of the perfect squares, find out which two integers that number falls in between, and whichever one it is closer to is going to be your approximation. Okay, so for today's assignment, let me pull it up here. You're going to be approximating square roots. You all will individually have this slideshow, okay? And there's a little bit of guided notes here that I would like you to just fill in. I'm not going to be able to type into this because these are just screenshots, but you will be able to type into it, okay? So I want you to fill in all of the things that say type here. And this is your assignment. You won't have a textbook assignment on this part. So let's name the perfect squares up to 12. Okay, so all you're doing here is making a list of numbers. You're going to make a list of you're making the list of the perfect squares up to 12. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and start it for you. But 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and so on. Do that all the way up to 12 squared. Okay, that's all you're doing for that slide. What happens if we were asked to find the square root of a number that is not a perfect square? So let's take 2 as an example. Use your calculator, find the square root of 2, and I want you to type in as many numbers as you can fit, or as many numbers as your calculator gives you when you type that in. The square root of a number that is not a perfect square is an blank blank, because it is non-blank and non-blank decimal. That you would get from last week's notes about the different kinds of numbers. Okay, that's all I'm going to give you as far as that hint goes. I will tell you that this word is number. So you need to fill in this, and this, and this. Okay? Slide 4. When given the square root of a non-perfect square, we can determine what 2 perfect squares it falls in between. All right, so I want you to go ahead and fill these in. Actually, since this is the note part, I'll go ahead and do that for you. So we have to think about the 2 perfect squares that 27 falls in between. So let's think about that. Well, we know that 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. So 25 is less than 27. So that's going to be 5. And then 6 squared to be 36. Oh, I'm sorry. This should be a 25, and then this should be a 36. The whole number would be 5, and the whole number would be 6 here. Now complete the sentence in the inequality. So the square root of 27 is larger than 5, but smaller than 6. So you would write 5 and 6 here. Oops, sorry about that. Hold on 1 second. I just want to double check that I am doing that the proper way, because the square root of 27 is going to fall in between 5 and 6. Just give me 1 second here. You can catch up on writing these notes down. Okay. Oops. Approximating. And it's not coming up for me right away, of course. Sorry, guys. I'm recording all of these videos all at one time, so I'm getting a little lost in the mix. All right. So yes, that's exactly how you do it. Okay. So then here on slide 5, you're going to have your practice problems. So these are the ones that I want you to do, slide 6 and slide 7. So you'll have 3 slides, a total of 6 practice problems that I want you to fill it in. However, I want you to fill in this entire slide presentation. So I did a little bit of it for you. I gave you a start on it, and then your assignment for today is just to finish this out, and once you're done, click on the Turn In button, and you will be all set for Monday's work. Thanks, guys.